Welcome to the Omnibus Twins gaming channel.
Today we're going to be reviewing AEG's shuffle building game, Smash Up. Alright, so let's take a look at Smash Up the game here. We have this really cool storage case. I have managed to fit an entire expansion in here and have some leftover room. However, there are 3 expansions and you're only going to be able to fit 2 of them in this box. That's kind of a bummer. Another little issue you're going to have with this box is your tokens. You're just going to have to throw them in some slots or find a baggie and toss them on top. They did not actually think about any kind of special storage for that. Little disappointing. However, having room for 2 expansions is very nice, and these slots hold your cards extremely well. So, overall, pretty good box that you get here, and as long as you're only getting the science fiction and the level 9000 expansions, you can fit them all in here without too much trouble. Now, let's break for just a second. Sarah and I are going to grab some decks, and we will come back to show you the way this game works. Alright, so here we're looking at the way this game is going to play out. These are your base cards. Your base cards are how you're going to make points. On a base card, you are going to see 3 numbers. The first of those numbers is going to be how many points the winner scores when a base is broken into. What do I mean broken into? In the upper right-hand corner of a base card, you are going to see a number. Once the combined power of all minions at that base exceeds that number, the base is broken into. Then scoring continues. Second most powerful at the base will gain the second number, and third most powerful will gain the third number. So, let's take a look at a turn and see exactly how this plays out. For clarity and ease of understanding, we are going to be focusing on Jungle Oasis here, which has a very simple victory condition and fairly simple scoring rules. So Sarah is going to start out this game for us by drawing 5 cards into her hand, and at all times she must be under a total of 10 cards, drawing 2 at the end of every turn. So she is going to start by playing a minion and an action, or just an action, or just a minion.
So for my first card, I'm going to play Sprout onto the Jungle Oasis. And he has a very complicated playing condition, so I'm just going to ignore that for now and explain it if and when it should happen.
For the purpose of this, you need to understand that Sprout is a minion worth 2 points. He does not yet exceed the victory conditions on Jungle Oasis, which requires 12 points to break.
I am then going to follow through with an action. Instagrow, I play it, and it allows me to play an extra minion. I'm then going to play my Scout, and he's got a very simple condition on him. Essentially, once the base is broken, typically we would discard all of the cards on the base. His special condition means that after that happens, I actually just put him in my hand. So I'm going to play him on the Jungle Oasis.
And then she is going to discard any of the actions that she has active at the moment that are not ongoing, and she is going to draw 2 cards into her hand. Never exceeding 10, of course. Now, for my turn, I am going to start by playing Laseratops. Now, Laseratops has a special condition that allows him to destroy a minion of 2 or less at the base that he is played at during this turn. So I'll play him here at Jungle Oasis and destroy Sprout.
Sprout goes into discard.
Then I am going to play a card called Mall Crawl. This is an action that's going to let me search my deck for any same named cards, put them into my discard pile, and then shuffle my deck. So I am going to search my deck and find that I have 3 cards, all called Tenacious Z, and I will put those into my discard pile and end my turn.
Alright, so right now I only have Scout on the Jungle Oasis, so I'm going to immediately play another minion. I'm going to be playing the Supreme Overlord, which means I get to return any minion I wish on the base to its owner's hand. So I'm going to return the Laseratops to Zachary's hand. Then I get to play an action. I'm going to play Probe. Look at another player's hand and choose a minion in it, and then I get to tell them to discard that minion. I'm going to look in his hand, and I am going to choose the Lasertrops, and then completely destroy it. Alright, and then I draw 2 cards. 1, 2, and it is Zachary's turn once again.
All right, so I am going to begin my turn by using the special ability on Tenacious Z that I discarded last turn. I am allowed to recycle it directly out of my discard pile and put it into play as a free action. So I am going to put it here on Jungle Oasis, and then from my hand I am going to play King Rex. Now, with my 9 and Sarah's 8, we have exceeded the breakpoint on Jungle Oasis, which means it is broken into and it is scored. Sarah only has 8 points, I have 9 points, so I am going to take this 2-point victory condition, gaining 2 victory tokens, and removing the base from play, playing another one, and then all of the minions that were played are going to go to their discard piles unless otherwise stated. This gameplay continues until someone has 15 points in their play area. Now, let's step back to the table and take a look at what we think.
Dubby cat. Okay. All right.
All right, welcome back. We're done looking at all the components on the table. Now let's kind of give it a breakdown and look at where we score this. First off, let's look at component quality for our cards. As far as the cards go, we're looking at kind of standard, customizable card game cards. I would love to have seen them silk finished, something really nice, maybe a stronger stock, but at the price point you're paying, this is kind of what you expect in a card game.
Card covers would probably be recommended if you're
Card
going to
covers are recommended, but keep an eye out, because if you do cover this game, you are absolutely going to need to get a new set of dividers. It just is not built for card covers.
No, it's not.
Another thing to look out for is when you go into opening up your box and getting all the components broken down, your little scoring tokens. Mine weren't punched right, which is...
He doesn't like that.
I had to take an X-Acto knife to the edges and pull them out to keep from tearing them to pieces, and at this price point, shame on you. No. Plastic pieces would have been better. I can deal with the cardboard if it's cut out right. And also, we got this really great style. We have this amazing art.
Which we're going to talk about in a few minutes here.
Why would you do that? I mean, I can do that on MS Paint.
The most cliche number in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't even stylize it. It's just like, it's a 5.
Yeah, give me something fun for my money. Overall, you're looking about on par where you're going to want to be for your component quality. However, the thing that brings the score of this back up for me is the art.
The art is amazing.
Yeah.
It's... Each thing you're going to play is going to have a different style of art, but for some reason they just work together. Because in this game you mix 2 different sets of characters, and honestly there's so many ways you can mess that up. If you have 2 different sets of cards, like for instance aliens and plants. Plants are in the expansion. They shouldn't work together. They just shouldn't, but for some reason they're just gorgeous when you put them together in a deck.
And over the years, we've seen so many different games do this wrong. I mean, the first box set, War of Indians, the discrepancy in art in that one actually is so jarring it pulls you out of the game. Or the alpha cards for Magic the Gathering, some of the art, man, Dominion. Oh, talk about some bad card art. But no, the art on these is all very different, and not just the art on the individual characters. If you look at the cards, down where it talks about your rule sets and character effects, all of these backgrounds are going to be completely different, and you're going to have a different icon in the corner of each one to keep you from mixing up your character cards as you play
Makes
them.
them very easy to sort at the end of the game. It takes you about 30 seconds to get your decks completely organized again. And then, as far as personal favorites would go, I believe you've picked out your 4 favorite cards here. We
let's
both seem
take
to have
turns.
picked out
Yeah.
two teams in specific that we just adore the art of.
Now, caveat here, one of my favorites is from the expansion, which
Mine as
we're going to
well,
get to. I like the ghosts. The ghosts have this really cool theme that floats somewhere between like a Victorian style painting and cartoons.
Almost chibi, in my opinion, with the little girls specifically.
It's like porcelain dolls almost. They've got this kind of off feel to them that just fits the ghost theme
Just
perfectly.
disturbing enough.
Yeah.
One of my favorites here is actually one of the first teams I played with. I absolutely adore the aliens. They're cartoony, but super detailed in the strangest of ways. I can look at these for hours. They're amazing. Every time you glance at them, you see something new in the background. They're just amazing. They fit the style of their play perfectly.
They kind of have that Mars Attacks or Destroy All Humans sort of vibe going on between them. And when I saw them the first time, I fell in love with them. The dinosaurs are amazing. They're like, if you distilled the 1980s and put it into a painting, this is what you'd end up with. It's kind of that Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon look that's just crazy. Laser, eyed Triceratops. It's overboard in the best of ways.
And then my second, I really like how classic these feel. The wizards are just gorgeous, very flowing artwork. It's amazing the way they did it. It looks exactly like a wizard card should look. They're just perfect.
The art kind of reminds me of some of the stuff that was done in Talisman the game, or maybe some of the beta cards for Wizards of the Coast's Magic the Gathering. However, with the art, there is a little bit of a downside because you are going to end up with a number of cards that are going to be completely age inappropriate for the younger kids.
Very much so, yes.
Especially when you're looking at things like the zombies and the aliens, because some of the themes talked about with the aliens are going to be a little offensive to the older age groups.
It's absolutely there.
It's a very lighthearted game, and it does so in almost a plotting manner. Your zombies are going to be a little bit of a gore factor.
Once again, it's sort of one of those things you kind of need to expect, yeah.
But it does kind of cut down on your play group a little bit. Some of the humor is a little irreverent, which for some play groups will be a
It's
boon.
perfect. For us, it was hilarious.
Yeah, but bear that in mind before taking this into a play group you don't know too much about.
Definitely take a look at the cards before you pull them out. If you're playing with some younger kids, you might want to go through each deck individually, make sure there's nothing that you personally disagree with.
It might be best if you're playing with younger kids to just build the decks yourself.
Absolutely.
Make them a little easier to play and at the same time tone down some of the themes. As far as gameplay goes, it's just a dumb fun game.
You can't really come into this game going, I am going to win, or
No.
you're going to ruin it for yourself, because there is no guarantee.
The gameplay of the game is very fast. 15, 20-minute games, like tops. You're not going to be going too much beyond that unless, when we talk about the expansion, you have one of these little loops happen. The game's balance is wonderful. The cards are obviously play-tested against each other. They work beautifully. They blend very easily, so you're going to get a lot of unique combinations, which really adds to the replay.
Absolutely.
At the same time, that very same mechanic is going to damage the playability because every time you play, you have to learn a new set of cards.
Which can be good and bad. Definitely good if you got people who just want to come in and play a fun game. Bad if you've got a very competitive person on the team.
Yeah.
They're going to get upset if they don't know exactly what's going to happen each game.
If you have adventurous gamers and you want a time filler, this is a great game.
It's fantastic. I know when we played through, we had a lot of fun.
As far as ease of play goes, your rules are basically broken down on the course of one page.
Very simple. You can jump right into it.
And teaching people how to do this, you don't need to bother to teach them. You can hand the rule book around. It's done in jokes. So
easy to read, catches your attention. It's not one of the ones you're going to fall asleep while trying to learn.
Yeah, and they do everything with these big bubbly pictures to explain different effects and things. The area that it starts to get a little more difficult is when it comes to teaming guys up and seeing what the effects are going to be. And with this game, you are talking about a massive amount of text on every card.
Almost every card.
Almost
I know there's
every
a dinosaur one that doesn't actually have anything written on it.
Yeah. There are a few exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, you're going to be reading the whole
Lots
game.
of text, heavy strategy. Once again, I probably wouldn't recommend it for any small children. It's a very strategy-based game.
At the same time, if you come into it planning to strategize,
You'll
you're
die.
not going to enjoy it.
It'll be bad.
You have to come into it
Expecting
expecting to
nothing.
just mess around with people, because that's really the goal of this game.
Expansion.
Yeah, let's talk about
Let's talk about the expansion here. It brings in a wide variety of just amazing characters. The main one that caught our attentions being the Bear Cavalry. They're fantastic.
The expansion by itself is an amazing expansion. The characters are varied, the powers are varied, it doesn't add new mechanics, so it's easy to pick up and play.
You just toss it in, essentially.
Everyone is balanced for each other extremely well. You can take the Bear Cavalry and you can bring them against the plants, no problem. You can pair any of the guys in the expansion up extremely well.
However,
You start having some problems when you mix the game and the expansion together. Not massive issues, but you need to expect issues. It's obvious that they play tested the base set, and it's obvious that they play tested the expansion. I wouldn't actually say for certain that anyone bothered to play test them against each other.
so during our second game, I sort of on a whim just mixed two teams. I didn't really even pay attention to what they did. I just thought it would be funny. I played Wizards and Bear Cavalry. Who doesn't like magical bears? I mean, come on. So as soon as I drew my first hand, I knew for a fact I was not going to win the game, and that alone would anger a great deal of people. But me being me, I decided to just roll with it. And this became a problem for my brothers Zachary and Jacob, as they were actually trying to win the game. So in Bear Cavalry, we have a set of cards that causes some very big problems. Just two cards in specific. First off, we have High Ground here. This is the High Ground card, and the effect on this one is you play it specifically on a base of your choosing. If you have a minion here, you can destroy any other player's card that gets moved there.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty nasty card, especially since the Bear Cavalry focuses a lot on moving other players' cards.
At the same time, would not have been a big issue for me because I was playing zombies and ghosts who recycle things out of the graveyard. Jacob was playing steampunks and robots, which we're going to talk about here in a second, and he recycles things from the graveyard. So destroying, not an issue.
Not an issue. Well, the thing is, I played this on a specific base. It did not destroy cards. You put them on the bottom of your deck, which I thought was very clever. I was having trouble controlling their characters. I thought, that's fantastic, I'll just do that. And then I got the second card. This one is called You're Pretty Much Borscht, which honestly, I love the card title, but this specific card, at the time that I used it, you had 4 cards on a base. Jacob had 5. And the action of this card is choose a base where you have a minion and move all other players' minions from there to any other base.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say that they were not happy with that card. And now a lot of you are going to be saying, well, there's a chance you're probably not going to get that card in that deck. There's a great deal of probability. The problem is, since I was playing Wizards, they have a couple cards that mess with their deck in specific. The Wizards focus mainly on putting cards into your hand and searching for specific cards. So the card that mostly I'm looking at here is called Scry.
Of which there are multiples in your
Which
deck.
there are multiples, not exactly by the same name, but they are in there. This specific one says search your deck for an action and reveal it to all players, then place it in your hand and shuffle your deck. Which means that even if you don't have both cards together, you will get them together. So that can cause a great deal of problems.
Basically what happened with this is that she had a number of characters that were capable of destroying any low-level characters that end up on the bases.
I sprinkled those across bases, and then I had another set of characters that could not be destroyed.
So essentially she shut down all the bases, so we can't play cards on them, or our cards are destroyed. But she's focusing all of her cards, because she has so few minions at so many actions, on manipulating characters.
Every time they would put down a card, I'd move it to the base where it goes to the bottom of their deck.
Which means that none of the bases were being scored, so nobody's making any points. None of us are winning. She's very obviously losing because she can't make points, and it basically took a 15-minute game and it turned it into a 40-minute game.
Ultimately, somebody won by a fluke.
Well,
a very, very evil fluke.
So, the evil fluke happens to be another one of these team-ups.
Yes.
Steampunks and robots, which sounds great. They seem
Amazing
to be themes to go together.
combination. They really do. They even look like they go together. They're a fantastic combo to look at.
The problem is that steampunks are all about taking things from your graveyard and putting them back into your hand, finding things in your deck, yes. The robots are about putting out huge numbers of low-level minions that pump one another up.
You put a minion out, it tells you to bring out another minion that tells you to bring out another minion.
We had as many as 5 minions come out in a turn, which isn't a massive issue because we're looking at 1-level or 2-level minions. The problem comes in when the steampunks decide to pull out of their deck a card that adds +2 to every minion
See
in
if I can
play.
find that card here.
Yeah, here we go.
So the rotary
slug
thrower, that's
yes.
the card right there. So this card, you play on a base and every minion on that base has +2 power.
So you can go from 5 to breaking a base and winning in 1 turn.
Which wasn't too much of a problem for me, but for Zachary it posed a huge problem because of my bear cavalry destroying all low-level characters. He was playing ghosts at the time, who are almost all low-level characters. So this brought our game to essentially a standstill until Jacob happened to toss out the right combo of cards at the right time.
So what it comes down to.
If you are in a good mood, if you love playing weird, mess with people games, if you don't care if you win or lose, this is a fantastic game.
This game will always be fun. It won't be strategic necessarily, it won't even be fair, but it will be fun. The theme that it has brings a lot to the table, the art adds so much to that theme. The gameplay has so many decisions that you can make, and it's going to be different every time you play it. As long as you come into it understanding that it probably won't be fair, you probably won't get to do whatever kind of strategy you have ideas for. But absolutely, the base set and the expansion, buy them together.
Absolutely.
It makes for a chaotic mess that's amazingly fun. The base set, when you're playing just base set characters, it's almost too dry. There wasn't enough chaos, but there wasn't enough strategy to really hold it together. This really fits somewhere between like a CCG and a light card game, so it kind of needs that frenetic pace.
And that helps when you're having more than just 2 characters. The first time we played, it was just Zach and I, and we had a lot of fun, but the second we got Jacob in there, it just exploded. It was amazing. I loved every second of it.
It just turns the game into horde mode. You go from 2 people fighting over a base to you have no idea what base is going to be attacked when, where you should try to score. Sometimes you want to give up a base so that you can take a bigger base, but at the same time, if you focus on the bigger base, you may lose the 2 smaller bases.
And you never know who's going to win. We were up in the air the whole time, so...
That might be a draw for people who are uncertain gamers. People that like games but have a tendency to lose a lot would probably love this game, because there's so much chaos. You can bring in somebody who's a complete veteran to the game and wipe them.
And even if you do lose, you have so much fun doing it.
Absolutely. So, looking at the game in total, we have our component quality at it's what you expect.
Yeah.
Except
floors,
for
I would say.
the tokens.
The tokens.
Fix the
just
tokens.
Fix it, yeah.
In fact, if you can replace them with something nice.
Absolutely. That should be
Yeah.
relatively easy to do. You can find a wide variety of different things to put in there.
If you have a way, sleeve the cards. They're getting shuffled constantly. Every time you play,
Switching
you're
hands,
shuffling them
bouncing
together.
across the table, getting piled together. They're
Yeah.
going to get destroyed. Definitely protect your cards.
Yeah, you are going to have to get a new set of dividers, but it is worth it to be able to sleeve your cards. And if you get the expansion, you get this nice in-between box size that you could put them all in sleeved. So component quality, I'm looking on the lower end of a 4.
Myself as well. I definitely agree about the chips. That's a frightening thought.
This game would be scraping in at a mid-3 if it weren't for the fact that the art is so amazing.
The playstyle is so much fun.
Yeah.
You can pile people in it, or you can just keep it down to 2 players.
It's so easy to teach that even though it's such a chaotic game, I end up coming in, again, right around that mid to lower 4, because it's not for everybody. But if you find the people it's for, it is so much fun.
If you have a friends group like ours, it's going to be insane, chaotic. You never know what's going to happen. You will love every second of it.
Yeah, you're kind of same area.
I am resting right around a 4, I would say, mostly for the unsureness of who you're playing with.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it could jump up to 5 depending on who you're playing with, or drop down to at least a 3, I would say,
Yeah.
if you have the wrong people joining you in the game. So I think 4 is definitely a fair place to balance that.
So altogether, it's a flawed game.
But it's fun.
But sometimes the flawed games are the ones that you end up playing the most.
Absolutely.
And this one's
I can see us playing this years
actually,
to come. Yeah.
they're what make the game.
They are.
Absolutely. So if you can get it at a decent price point, don't spend more than about $35 on it. Expansions, I wouldn't say more than about $20. They add a lot to the game, but don't get gouged for them. They're probably going to end up releasing a big box set. This is one of those games that's going to be around long enough to deserve a big box set.
Absolutely, definitely.
So if you're buying expansions, and a word on the expansions. If you want to keep your game a nice, chaotic, fun game, you want Awesome Level 9000. Don't get Cthulhu unless you have hardcore gamers in the group and you really, really don't care about the chaos it's going to bring. You add a lot of new mechanics, you mess with the base of the play style, there's tokens to keep track of, and they don't blend well with the base set. The sci-fi smash-up has some cool characters, but again, some of the characters are really going to manipulate the base play style. If you're fine with the chaos, absolutely add them. Mm-hmm. But keep the price point about $20 for the expansion, because you're only adding about 4 decks, and that's a fair price for 4 decks.
I would say also Level 9000 is definitely the one to go with, though. It's nice and rounded. You get everything you could possibly want in the game, and it does not mess with the game itself.
Yeah, keeps it streamlined. It's very nice. So,
all right. So we're putting
overall,
that round 4.
Yeah. Good game to buy. Absolutely. It'll stay on your shelf for a while. Good for just about any gaming group.
Perfect.